After so many years, hounded by hatred and trapped by fear, I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I'll slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah. Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound, chained by the caveman who keeps beauty down, smacked on the ass when they are squalling and wet. And to a spineless man who never forgets, never forgets that he's a prisoner. Can't you hear my plea? 'Cause I need somebody, Lord knows, to listen to me. I'm a stranger to my son who wonders why his daddy runs, yeah. in hell I am. Hemmed in by a suit. Yes, or choked up in a tie. Ain't no wonder sometimes in the morning I hear my woman cry. She knows her man is a prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? Yeah, 'cause I need somebody, whoa, to listen to me. My woman, she don't say, but greetings once again. Welcome to the NEPPC podcast. My name is Frank Brown. Well, brother Frank Brown, and I'm with my brother
Abdul Haq Islam,
who was a former political prisoner. Today we are celebrating a people's victory of bringing Sundiata Acoli home. So we want the people to recognize that we do have victories. And if you haven't heard it, we want to share that news with you right now. I'm very honored because I know I had an opportunity to speak to the brother before he got released, and before he was granted his release to come home. When I was struggling to raise people's awareness about him being incarcerated, so I started to feel I was building a stronger connection with the brothers. So really impactful in this work that and today's episode we are focusing on mental health, and we're focused on the brother Veronza Bowers Jr. because May is mental health month as well as Black Liberation Month. So we want to focus on these two things because most of the people that we talk about, most of the political prisoners that we're talking about are former members of the Black Liberation Army and the Black Panther Party. So it's only right that we tie in what's going on currently in the society we live in to our political prisoners. We realize that everybody struggles with mental health, and everybody has to do what they have to do to resolve that issue. I think like most mental health problems stem from unresolved trauma. So we're dealing with mental health from this perspective of what we intend to do and how we intend to combat this serious situation. So that's why we put this episode together to talk about our brother, our comrade Veronza Bowers.
That might be a mental health expert.
No, it wasn't. We're expecting a call from a mental health expert, and as soon as we get that call, we'll let that individual speak because it's very important that we have the experts to participate in this particular work. For those who don't know about Veronza Bowers, we're going to talk about him right now because it's very important that the political prisoners get to tell their own story. So this is from Veronza.org. Who is Veronza? Veronza Bowers Jr. is an inmate at the Federal Medical Center in Butner, North Carolina. He's a former member of the Black Panther Party, incarcerated in federal prison for over 46 years, making him one of the longest held inmates in U.S. history. In the more than 4 decades of his confinement, Veronza has become a model prisoner. He is an author, musician, a student of Asian healing, arts, and has a strong interest in Buddhist meditation, as well as hands-on healing techniques, which he practiced at the various facilities in which he has been incarcerated. Veronza is also an honorary elder of the Lompoc Tribe of Five Feathers, a Native American spiritual and cultural group. He is a mentor and founder of the All Faith Meditation Group, a non-denominational spiritual organization devoted to healing meditation using the traditional Japanese shakuhachi flute, which he has been blowing for over 30 years. Veronza is a member of the International Shakuhachi Society. So that's his background. We're going to get into why he's been incarcerated for so long, but we just wanted to talk about that for a minute, about what he's been involved in terms of his meditation. And Abdul Haq, you are a former political prisoner. You have been incarcerated for a number of years over your ideas. And what toll does that take on you in terms of your mental health?
Well, I mean, it made me very, very angry, and I don't have any mental health problems, nothing like that. But I can see how being incarcerated, the pressure of incarceration, can push people over the edge of that cliff. I've been around folks while incarcerated who got serious mental health issues, and indeed, it is a big issue right now. Uh, out here in the so-called free world. As you walk through New York City, you see a whole lot of mental health problems on display. As walking through the subway and walking through subway cars selling my merch, I have gone through several subway cars at one time, about 7 or 8 subways. On each and every one of them, somebody was sitting there talking to themselves on each and every one of them cars, and it's a whole lot of mental health problems, very, very visible in New York City. And, people would have these type of skills to deal with this is very, very valuable and need to be among us. One thing that Veronza was able to do while incarcerated was to use his skill, meditation, of will, of strengthening the mental faculties, meditating, thinking, you understand, breathing exercises, through these processes to deal with the violence, the rage in prisoners, the cool out. And we have a serious problem right now of gun violence. So this tells us and should tell the world out there that's fighting for the liberation of political prisoners that these are the type of brothers and sisters we need out here. They relate to what we're dealing with out here every day. And the system itself, you understand, is a manifestation of organized mental health. The system is got a big problem when there's brothers like this who can help. And they go the people in rulership go out of their way to keep brothers and sisters like this locked down.
Yes, that's a very important point. Right now, I want to talk about Veronza's case, right? I want to why he's incarcerated for so long, and why, despite the fact that he has been proven innocent, right? Why is it that he's still incarcerated and can't come home? So this is from Veronza.org. It said, why was Veronza sent to prison over 46 years ago? In 1973, Veronza was convicted in the murder of a U.S. park ranger on the word of 2 government informers, both of whom received reduced sentences for other crimes by the federal prosecutor's office. Like, this is the same tactic that goes on continuously. But let me continue. There were no eyewitnesses and no evidence independent of these informants to link him to the crime. See, let me read that again. There were no eyewitnesses and no evidence independent of these informants to link him to the crime. At his trial, Veronza offered alibi testimony which was not credited by the jury, nor was testimony of 2 relatives of the informants who insisted that they were lying. The informants had all charges against them in this case dropped. Read that again. The informants had all charges against them in this case dropped, and one was given $10,000 by the government according to the prosecutor's post-sentencing report. Veronza was consistently proclaimed his innocence of the crime he never committed, even at the expense of having his appeals for parole denied, for which an admission of guilt and contrition is virtually required. he insists on maintaining the Black Panther Party was targeted by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI, in which its infamous COINTELPRO operation, which during its years of operation from 1956 to 1971, surveilled, infiltrated, manipulated, and tried to provoke criminal activities by entirely lawful civil rights and peace demonstrators exercising their First Amendment rights to oppose government policies, who were referred to the Black Panther Party as the greatest threat to the internal security of this country, and authorized surveillance of many black and anti-war leaders, including Martin Luther King. So I just stopped right there so we could talk about what happened. So you see that the two witnesses were not credible. In fact, one was given $10,000, and even their own relatives was saying that they were lying. So, this is on Veronza.org. So Veronza gets to tell his own story. And I think that it's very important that we listen to what he's saying and understand that this brother's mind is very strong. And this brother needs to be amongst the people. And we need to do what we need to do to bring him home. Now, I'm going to post up something right now on this interview that he did on this particular show. And I just want everybody to check that out. It's Veronza Bowers Jr., 46 Years of Justice Denied, the Final Straw radio show. So on this radio show, he lays out his background. He talks about dealing with segregation, being taught as a little kid that you drink from one water fountain and somebody else drinks from another. And he asked his father, why is it that? And his father told him, I'll explain that to you later on. So at an early age, yes.
He begins talking about the facts in his case at 27 minutes and 43 seconds into the interview. You dig? So the folks, they can look that up and hear him in his own words. It's one thing us stating the facts in this case, but to hear him in his own words, has a much more greater value than hearing it from us.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, brother, and I'm glad that you brought that up because one of the things that we do here at the NEPPC podcast is we provide the political prisoner a platform for people that take moments out of their week to focus on certain people who made sacrifices for you because nobody gets anywhere without the sacrifices of somebody. I know that personally, and I know that from my observation and my research on history. I was listening to Democracy Now, and they had a saying. They said there's the three R's in American history. It's race, and resistance. If I ever or a revolution, people and people must understand the history of that because then they understand what they need to do to change things. Because if it's fundamentally flawed, then it's not going to correct itself. It only can be corrected by people organizing and taking a position. I think just like we got Sundiata Kohli home, right? That was a number of people being involved, being consistent to bring him home that brought him home. Because Sundiata said,
right on. Sundiata's coming home.
Exactly.
We need to have some celebrations, y'all.
Exactly.
Sundiata's coming home.
We can get victories because too far often we are getting hit with losses, right? But when we have our victories, we need to be very proud, stand tall on that.
Yeah, and it's very important for us to feel our victories because one of the strategic aims of the oppressor is to make you feel like you embalmed and cremated and 6 feet down in the dirt and can't do nothing but sit on your behind and drink, you understand, and get drunk and do nothing. The strategy of doing nothing has never produced 1 ounce of anything in the history of the world. Black power. Fight for our political prisoners to be free.
Black power. We got to fight for our political prisoners to be free.
Free them all.
We got to struggle very hard and remain committed. Long term, right? Mm-hmm. Sundiata has been incarcerated for almost 50 years, but he came home. Sekou Odinga was incarcerated for over 33 years, but he came home. Jalil Abdul Muttaqin was incarcerated for almost 50 years, but he came home. My point in saying that is that they didn't die in prison, right? So that's the line that we running, and that's the line that we understand people need to hear. that we have the power to free our political prisoners. They don't have to die in prison, but we have to be committed to that. I want to take a moment to talk about Veronza again, right? Mm-hmm. Because this flute that he has and what he used it to do is very important.
That is him in his therapy session in the penitentiary, healing other prisoners. That's him standing right there in the midst of his fellow inmates, resolving their whatever issues they have in terms of mental health.
And I think that when you go to the interview that he's having, right, he'll explain how he deals with the anger issues. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that when I read his I read his website, right?
Punchy.
Yeah, the situation on Punchy, right? This was an inmate who had got shot and needed some type of therapy. So Veronza had organized some brothers and worked on the brother continuously, had everybody get involved. And as they remained consistent, this brother eventually walked.
Yeah, he couldn't walk, and through therapy, he was able to walk again.
Exactly. So we just wanted to show you the type of brother this brother is.
Mind over matter.
And the fact that this mental health issue needs to be addressed through meditation. You have different massage techniques, breathing, and this brother understood that very importantly. And he had a number of years being incarcerated and dealing with that because a scientist is going to put theory into practice. So he's incarcerated and he's not using his time destructively. He's using it constructively.
Right.
So
he's a healer, just like Matulu.
Exactly.
Like Matulu is a healer.
And he had a technique called acupressure that he used, and I made me think immediately about Matula Shakur and how Matula Shakur was using acupuncture to get brothers and sisters off of heroin. So we have to identify our political prisoners by who they are. We can't let people tell us that they are terrorists, and we have to be enraged, and we have to organize and bring them home because we have that duty and that responsibility to bring them home, and we can bring them home. It's only a matter of time, right?
Turn that rage into work.
Exactly, and make a commitment to do that work long term, because they sacrificed so much for us, and we owe that to them. We have to be prepared to do that, and we have to understand that if we don't free them, who will? And that's why we out here consistently producing this podcast, bringing ideas to the people that they are not regularly exposed to. I know when I read his story and I read about his conviction to stand on principle, I was admired because there was another Black Panther Party member by the name of Geronimo Pratt who was in the same situation. He didn't have to do all those years in prison, but he said he wasn't going to admit to a crime that he didn't do.
Right.
Veronza Bowers is standing on the same principle. He's not committing to admitting to a crime that he did not do. So as we read this, and he said one of the conditions of being paroled is that you confess to your crime or have some remorse on your crime.
So in essence, it is legal for the parole board to hit you because you're innocent. Now you talk about a mental health issue. You understand? The system has a serious mental health issue. I personally related to that incident because that was one of the reasons why the parole board hit me, because I said I was innocent. The police attacked me and I defended myself. And for that, I was given 7 to 25 years. And because I said I was innocent, I got. So in the case of Veronza and in the case of Geronimo, they did extra time because they was innocent. Now ain't that a blip? What y'all think about that?
Hello?
So, is this her? All right.
So
Yeah, brother, so we got our mental health expert on the line right now. Let me see. I'm gonna put the things so she can still turn on speaker. Salam alaikum. Good. How you doing? All right. Oh well. I thought you was my daughter. This is my a former wife. How you doing? I thought you was Arabic. We doing a podcast right now. And and so I'm gonna call you back later. Yeah. All right, sis. All right. Stay up. Yeah. Sorry about that, brother and sister. That was
all right, let's get it back to business, brother,
all right.
because we don't want to waste our time.
Right on.
Our time is
Sorry,
on
y'all.
political business. We apologize for that error. We was expecting a phone call, but I wanted to take some time and talk about what was said about Veronza. So these are what do prison administrators and unit managers who work day to day with Veronza have to say about him. So they said, I have known M.A. Bowers for the best I can pinpoint approximately 17 years. I have been with the Bureau of Prisons for 25 years in March, and this is my first time ever speaking on behalf of an inmate. As I said, I have known Bowers for approximately 17 years, maybe even more, but it's very unusual having come through the ranks as a correctional officer, a lieutenant, a captain. I have worked in the regional office. I have worked in the central office. I have been a disciplinary hearing officer, and now I'm a unit manager. It's very unusual to run into an inmate who can do 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 21 years is the exception. And this is exceptional that the inmate could conduct himself in an institution in such a manner as not to even receive an incident report. Incident reports are very easy to get, and he has set the standard for not getting any incident reports. I can address the fact that as a Bureau of Prisons employee, we all wish we had an institution full of inmates who can go 21 years without an incident report. So, in a hostile environment like being in a penitentiary, how hard is that to do?
That's real hard to do, because you got a whole lot of people be instigating problems all the time, and for you to go all those years, you understand, have no incident report, to be a model prisoner, that is a great accomplishment, and that shows there's evidence of the character of the individual, and this speaks to us to say that this brother needs to be free.
Exactly. So when we talk like the last couple of days or last couple of weeks rather, I've been seeing some very disturbing images of riding the New York subway. Right? I seen people urinating in public. I seen a sister who was definitely younger than me. She looked like she was early 30s, late 20s, and walking around barefooted. And this mental health crisis is out here, and people are suffering a lot. You see people talking to themselves in the train. And I look at the mind of a brother like Veronza Bowers and the importance he that is needed for him to be home. Right? He's a member of the Black Panther Party, so he was involved in their service to our people. So he carried on that tradition while he was incarcerated. And just imagine if he comes home. Once he comes home, he can share his techniques of mental healing and help people who need that, because there's enough people that need that. So us as the people who understand his story, we need to organize and raise awareness about him being incarcerated and do our role in bringing him home, because we have not only a responsibility to him and his sacrifices, but to our people and our community. Because let's face the facts, we need all the help we can get.
Right. And it is indicative of this upside down system that they would value cutting loose, someone, a bank robber, someone with drug cases, you understand, and to incarcerate an up and coming Black Panther, based on no evidence, based on the word of these individuals, who people who know them confer that they were known liars, and so we have to think in our own interests, and don't be taken off and hypnotized to fight for the interests of a bloody enemy, enemy that's going around the world, colonizing, you understand, or ripping and robbing people of their national wealth. This is African Liberation Month, and we have forces in the United States that's trying to recolonize Africa, to rip the resources. They have a bill penned by Gregory Meeks, U.S. representative of the 5th District, and it's saying that the U.S., in a con game and some technology, talking about the Ukraine, using that as a basis for technology to say that the U.S. must control the mines in Africa, where the natural resources are, control the resources, control the propaganda, control the minds of the people in Africa and in America, to make the property, to make our brains the private property of U.S. capitalism. That is a push right now. And these are the types of people that are telling us that we should see our friends as our enemies, that we should see our political prisoners as enemies. The same people that are right now plotting and scheming to rip and rob more and more the recesses of our motherland. After Liberation Day, African Liberation Month. So we say, liberate our prisoners, free them all.
Free them all. That's right, and that's why we had to put this episode in a way where we wanted to address the issues of African people here and abroad, as well as mental health. Because when we read Fanon, right, Fanon is talking about mental disorders because of oppression, and so the responses that people have in their oppressive state is that of mental disorders. They'll act and speak in ways that are a so-called normal person or somebody who has a stable mental health situation would speak. So that's why when we talk about Veronza Bowers and his ability to maintain his composure, his ability to stay humane in a very hostile environment is something commendable, something remarkable. And he's been incarcerated for so many years. And when he does come home, he'll have but so many years left in terms of his life expectancy, and that's why we have to organize to get him home, because we have to do our job, because he hasn't betrayed us, he hasn't turned his back on us. He continues to do his work. He continues to make himself an asset to society by what he participates in, because what he is participating directly deals with mental health. And when we look at the Black Panther Party and we look at their origins and we look at the fact that they wanted to be that example, that model for our people, then we salute them, because they understood that oppression uh, breaks a person, right? And that's why George Jackson of the Black Panther Party was so important, because he said they would never count me amongst the broken. And that's about strengthening yourself mentally, deciding that regardless of what happens, you will not be broken. And I think that Veronza Bowers demonstrates that tremendously. And I think that we need to respect that, and we need to show solidarity with his ability to keep his composure by learning from his example and at the same time organizing to bring him home.
And as you spoke, Frank, you reminded me that Fanon said that the mental disorders of the oppressed, you understand, is a product of the oppression, the violence, you understand, the dehumanization, the disrespect, to tell people that you are, that you are less than nothing, you understand? So the stress that comes from this, you understand, is manifested in mental disorders. And Fanon also said that the therapy, the way to come out of this, is to stand up and fight back. And this is what happened in liberation struggles. But we're saying that our political prisoners are very, very central and vital to this liberation struggle, you understand, to help us regain and recapture everything that belongs to us, including, you understand, a stable mental condition. You understand? So we say in that vein, Free Veronza, free them all.
Free them all. That's right. So I think that I'm comfortable with saying that we produced a very solid, productive episode. We announced coming home of Sundiata Akoli. We saluted our supporters, and we are planning to be out in the streets real soon. We'll let people know. You can contact us at 347-679-3936. Again, that's 347-679-3936. If you want to contribute to our podcast and Kofa at Gmail. That's SEFUSANKOFA at Gmail. I'm always appreciative of a person's time. So you commenting, press like, share with 10 people. That really means a lot to me. Any last remarks before we close out, my brother?
No, I'm just saying that the conclusion we get from all this is that we need to redouble our efforts, and we need to understand the value of brothers and sisters like Brother Veronza, and so for us to act like we got some good mental health, and free them all.
Yes, indeed. We got to free them all. And I just wanted to say, just think about what our political prisoners is going through as they are incarcerated. I think Mumia Abu Jamal gave the best description. He said, picture being in your bed 23 hours a day. He said, that's what it's like being incarcerated. Mm-hmm. And I think that confinement is enough to break you mentally. So that's why Veronza's story is so remarkable, it's so inspiring, it's so encouraging. We have to share it. I wrote him, and this is how vicious that system is, that penitentiary system. I wrote him a 7-page letter. They sent it back. They said it could only be 5 pages. So I had to send the letter back on 5 pages. I haven't yet received anything back to him, but I'm confident that he received it, and it made me feel good about what I'm doing.
Yeah. Because a stupid rule like that, all you gotta do is write it small and send it back.
Exactly.
They so stupid. I've been through them. They is total ignorances. The people who run these systems. They attract Ku Klux Klan mentalities.
Right. So before we close out, we want to give you a few words from our brother, Killer Mike, because he always provides those words of wisdom around this particular word.
Well, I have to give the credit to this idea of Miss Kathy Hughes of Radio 1. She's like, Michael, it is time that you guys organize a fund to set aside to help people who sacrifice for our freedom. Meaning, every time something happens, I hear this. Why don't the gang bangers jump up and do something for us? Why don't you kill them? You kill each other. And I say to myself, when is the last time you sent money to Assata Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Matulu Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Mumia Abu Jamal or Larry Hoover or Jeff Ford or Leonard Peltier? When is the last time you have made it your business to send money a revolutionary or a hoodlum that has helped us? And until we start to do that, how can we ask these young men to be warriors? Because if they do it in the name of the hood, at least the hood gonna honor their name always. At least the hood gonna make sure at least their children got something or their mama's house is looked after. As a community, if we're going to ask people to bungee jump for us with no cord, be prepared to take care of them when they get a life sentence. Be prepared to look after their families. See, I don't mind the work getting done, but let's take care of the workers. Let's stop asking more out of people than we would do for ourselves. So what I'd like to see, my dream thing, is to see 1 million people from the culture dedicate $10 a month. That's $10 million a month, $120 million a year toward taking care of civil rights leaders who have worked on our behalf and are elderly now and don't have to take care of themselves, like Rosa Parks, whose rent was paid by the owner of Little Caesars Pizza. We should have had a fund to make sure that she never had to worry about that again in her life. We should have a fund that makes sure money makes it to Assata Shakur, and Matulu Shakur has legal representation and food, and Leonard Peltier, who has diabetes in jail, can get is taken care of. And until we start doing it, $10 a month is about what you pay on a couple fast food restaurant visits. So if 1 million of us do that for the rest of our life, look at how well we'll be taking care of the people that we're asking to sacrifice on our behalf.
There you have it. What's the call?
Free 'em all.
What's the call?
Free 'em all.
What's the call?